Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning. The rain set early into night. The sullen wind was soon awake. It tore the elm tops down for spite, and did it worst to vex the lake. I listened with heart fit to break, when glided in Porphyria, straight. She shut the cold out and the storm, and kneeled and made the cheerless grate blaze up, and all the cottage warm, which done, she rose, and from her form withdrew the draping cloak and shawl, and laid her solid soiled gloves by, untied her hat, and let the damp hair fall, and last she sat down by my side and called me. When no voice replied, she put my arm about her waist, and made her smooth white shoulder bare, and all her yellow hair displaced, and stooping made my cheek lie there, and spread over all her yellow hair, murmuring how she loved me. She too weak for all her heart's endeavor to set its struggling passion free from pride and vainer ties dissever, and give herself to me forever. But passion sometimes would prevail, nor could tonight's gay feast restrain a sudden thought of one so pale, for love of her, and all in vain. So she was come through wind and rain. Be sure I looked up at her eyes, happy and proud. At last I knew Porphyria worshipped me. Surprise made my heart swell, and still it grew, while I debated what to do. That moment she was mine, fair, perfectly pure and good. I found a thing to do, and all her hair in one long yellow string I wound 3 times her little throat around, and strangled her. No pain felt she, I'm quite sure, for she felt no pain. As a shut bud that holds a bee, I warily opened her lids again, laughed the blue eyes without a strain, and I untied next the tress about her neck. Her cheek once more blushed bright beneath my burning kiss. I propped her head up as before, only this time my shoulder bore her head, which droops upon it still, a smiling rosy little head, so glad it has its utmost will, that all its scorn at once is fled, and I, its love, am gained instead, Porphyria's love. She guessed not how her darling one wish would be heard. And thus we sit together now, and all night long we have no stirred, and yet God has not said a word. Porphyria's Lover is a dramatic monologue by Robert Browning, written in 1836, and is one of the earliest examples of the psychological exploration of a disturbed mind in poetry. The poem is notable for its depiction of obsessive love, possession, and murder, conveyed through the voice of an unnamed speaker who recounts the events of a fateful evening with his lover Porphyria. The poem is written in a single, continuous monologue of 60 lines, structured in ABABB rhyme scheme, a form that Browning often used. The poem's meter is primarily iambic tetrameter, with the exception of the final line of each stanza, which is written in iambic trimeter. This creates a subtle shift in rhythm that contributes to the poem's unsettling tone. The dramatic monologue format allows readers to enter the mind of the speaker, but it also emphasizes the subjectivity and unreliability of his perspective. The reader is only given the speaker's interpretation of events, which becomes more disturbing as the poem progresses. The poem opens with a dark, stormy night, creating a setting of turbulence and foreshadowing the emotional intensity that follows. The speaker is alone in a cottage, feeling dejected and heartbroken. Outside, the wind is violent and destructive, tearing the trees and disturbing the lake. The storm reflects the speaker's inner emotional storm and distress, but this mood shifts when Porphyria enters. Porphyria comes into the speaker's life, symbolically shutting out the cold and storm, both literally and metaphorically. Her entrance is graceful and almost angelic as she brings warmth and calm to the cottage, lighting the fire and making the room cozy. She is portrayed as a nurturing figure, caring for the speaker's well being. She then removes her wet clothing and approaches the speaker, displaying her affection. Despite Porphyria's attempts to bring comfort and closeness, there is tension between them. The speaker feels as though Porphyria is torn between her love for him and other social obligations, perhaps hinting at class differences or societal expectations that prevent her from fully committing to him. In this moment, Porphyria expresses her love, even worshipping him, but the speaker perceives a fleeting nature in her affection, sensing that she cannot belong to him entirely. The speaker's response to Porphyria's love becomes unsettling. He decides that the only way to preserve this perfect moment, when she is completely his and submissive, is to kill her. In a chilling and disturbing act, he strangles Porphyria with her own hair. The speaker describes the murder as a calm, deliberate action, convincing himself that she felt no pain and even rationalizing that this was what Porphyria truly wanted. After killing her, the speaker arranges her body carefully, almost reverently, as though preserving her in this ideal state of devotion. He opens her eyes and kisses her, sitting with her lifeless body as though nothing unusual has occurred. The speaker believes that in death, Porphyria is finally his forever, without any external barriers or distractions pulling her away. The poem closes on an eerie note as the speaker reflects on his deed with no sign of remorse or guilt. Instead, he seems dissatisfied with his actions, interpreting the lack of divine punishment as approval from God. The final line, "and yet God has not said a word," suggests that the speaker feels justified, believing that his crime of passion was righteous or that he is beyond moral judgment. In summary, Porphyria's Lover is a chilling exploration of obsessive love, control, and moral madness. Browning uses the speaker's calm, rational tone to contrast with the horrifying act of murder, creating an unsettling narrative that delves deep into the psyche of a disturbed individual. Thank you.